Hey guys, welcome to the channel. We're going to be back here doing another ranking video. This time we're going to be doing all the quarterbacks currently starting. First, I just want to thank you guys. We hit 70,000 views just yesterday. I really do appreciate it. And we're up over 400 subscribers. So I do appreciate all the support you guys have been showing me. So let's go ahead and hop into this vid. Let's do it. So we have an elite category, above average, average, below average, and bad. So those are pretty much what we're going to be working with here. Let's go ahead and start off with a heater. Let's go ahead and put Mahomes, where he belongs, in that elite category. I'm a Chiefs fan, but it's not biased at all. He won the MVP last year. I'm strictly going off what I seen last year. I mean, yeah, for the older quarterbacks, you can go off what they've done in their career, but just last year, Mahomes was the most valuable player. He won MVP, so he is on my list of elite guys. He proved it. He threw 50 touchdowns. He played very good out here throwing no-look passes. And there's really no arguing that he's not elite. I mean, really anybody I talk to, even my dad, who's a Raiders fan, he thinks Mahomes is one of the better quarterbacks in the league currently, if not the best. So we're going to roll with him as elite. Let's go ahead and move on to, what do we want to do? Let's go to Eli Manning. I'm not going to put him in the bad category. I'm not going to freaking disrespect him like that, but I'm going to put him in the below average. Definitely he was better earlier in his career, but as he's gotten older, you can really tell the difference in how he's playing. Hits are just piling up on him. I mean, first, the Giants aren't helping him out. They gave him a crap offensive line for how long, just getting beat up back there. But, I mean, he's had some weapons over his career. There was a year he had Evan Ingram, who's one of the fastest tight ends in the league currently. I mean, Odell. He had Saquon last year with Odell, and they just didn't work out. I don't know what's going on there. Definitely it's time for a new quarterback in New York, so he's going to go in the below average. Let's move on to Big Ben. This is a weird one. I'm going to put him, he's an above average. Some people might say he's elite. I can't think that when he has games, usually once a year, couple times a year, where he's just on a nasty streak, like couple INTs a game. I mean, he starts off the year pretty bad. He does heat up towards the end, but that's why I'm going to put him in the above average. Elite quarterbacks are pretty much what I'm thinking. They play good every game. They're not going to really have a bad game here or there. They're just elite. So I'm going to put Big Ben right there in the above average. Let's go ahead and move on to Joe Flacco, and yeah, he's going in the bad. I mean, he won a Super Bowl with Baltimore, so I guess you can't fault him for that. But after he got paid, started going downhill. Not too sure why Denver wanted to, start him. I guess they probably want to sit Drew Lock a year. But, man, Joe Flacco, I just don't think he's a starting caliber quarterback. I don't. I mean, a lot of people will disagree with me with that. Not a lot, I'd say some. I don't. He's not that good. He's just not. He's still got a little bit of arm strength there, still got a decent arm, just he's not accurate. Let's go ahead and move on to Kyler Murray, the rookie, who is going to be the starter most likely. I'm going to put him in average just because I don't really know what to expect here. We haven't really seen him in the league yet, so from what I've seen, I think he can be in that elite category, but I also think he can end up in the below average category if he doesn't get the right coaching here and there. I'm expecting he's going to get the right coaching, though, because he does have his college coach, which is a huge helper. So he's going to have that to work with. He is very mobile. I'm going to count that for something. One of the more mobile quarterbacks in the league. I'd put Lamar Jackson probably ahead of him in mobile, but he's pretty accurate. Height could be a problem, but Russell Wilson's done fine throughout his career, so I'm going to say Kyler Murray's going to be an average quarterback, but he can be elite as well, so we'll see there. Moving on to Andy Dalton, he's going to go in bad. I mean, Cincinnati's just gave him chance after chance. You could say it's been the coach. Marvin Lewis, he should have been fired a hot minute ago. I mean, how long did he go without making the playoffs there? It had been a hot minute. But Andy Dalton, he's had A.J. Green for a long time. They've had Tyler Eifert. I know Eifert has had injuries a lot, but they've had some nice players there in Cincinnati, and Andy Dalton just hasn't been able to get it done. I just don't really trust him currently, so I really feel like they're in a rebuild mode. Definitely think he's in that bad category. Who do we want to go next? Let's move on to Dak. This is probably one of the better topics here. I'm going to put him in average. They're talking about contract extensions. I think he should get paid, especially if you're an average quarterback, because it is so hard to find quarterbacks in this league. Just ask Cleveland about that. They have went through quarterbacks like wildfire. So, yeah, he's going to go in that average category. He still should get paid, in my opinion. He's going to get paid a lot, probably near Russell Wilson's amount, maybe not that much, but it's probably going to be up there. I don't know. When Ezekiel Elliott's been out of there and the offensive line has been banged up a little bit, he really wasn't having a good year. His best years are when Ezekiel Elliott's running great and he's throwing off play action. I feel like any quarterback could do that has a little bit of mobility. So I'm going to say he's an average quarterback. He can get the job done, though, because Dallas is really surrounding him with weapons. So I'm going to put him in that average category. Let's go ahead and move on to Josh Rosen. I'm going to put him in that below average category. Definitely didn't have a good year last year, but they kind of threw him right into the fire in Arizona when I guess they're kind of going to be doing the same thing to Kyler Murray, but when he went there, Arizona doesn't have a good offensive line. Fitzgerald is up there aging. He plays slot a lot. He's still one of the better receivers, but he's a slot guy. He doesn't have the speed he used to. He didn't really have a lot of receivers to throw to. David Johnson kind of was coming off an injury. So I feel like, and their defense just is not that good. They have an okay defense, but it's not top of the league. So I'm going to say Josh Rosen was really thrown in there. We're really going to see what he's going to be able to do there in Miami. I am going to say, though, it's kind of like, what are they doing here? The GOAT isn't on here? Freaking Ryan Fitzpatrick? He's not the GOAT, but those first 4 games of every year that he starts sometimes, he goes on a rampage where he'll go 4 or 5 touchdowns a game. So, I'm going to put, I meant to say, I don't think it's a for sure that Josh Rosen's starting over Fitzpatrick. From what I've been seeing, they're saying Fitzpatrick looks good. So I feel like you got to play Fitzpatrick those first couple of weeks when he gets hot. Then Josh Rosen will come in. So let's go ahead and move on to Sam Darnold. Let's go ahead and move on with him. I'm going to put him in that average category. I'm not going to lie. He didn't have a great year last year. They ended up shutting him down throughout the year, but he has so many weapons currently. I feel like he's going to move up to the average category, and especially when you look at a lot of the rookies in their second year, the quarterbacks, they usually end up doing quite well. Patrick Mahomes, I know he didn't start his first year, but his second year he comes out on fire. There's a lot of rookie quarterbacks you could say this happened to. Deshaun Watson had a decent year last year into his second year. There's some quarterbacks, so I definitely feel like he might have a jump this upcoming year. You could say that for a lot of these quarterbacks actually in their second year, but I feel like Sam Darnold's surrounded with the talent. Le'Veon Bell, Robbie Anderson, a nice defense starting to build up that offensive line, trading for Osemele from the Raiders. I like what they're doing up there in New York, and I feel like they might be the team that can finally give the Patriots a little bit of challenge. Let's go ahead and move on to another elite quarterback. This is a no-brainer, Aaron Rodgers. He's had injury concerns, but when he's out there, I personally believe he's the best. Better than Tom Brady, I feel like, and Mahomes when he's healthy. He's just insane. When he's healthy and playing good, it's just, go back to that one year, dude, when they were like, what? Were they 4-6 and they won 6 straight games? Took out the Giants when they were on a roll. Took out Dallas with that outrageous pass, moving to the left. He can do it all. Throw on the run. He's got mobility. He's got one of the better arms in the league. I'd say it's Patrick Mahomes, then Aaron Rodgers for arm talent-wise, but Aaron Rodgers can make every throw you want, and he's done it with a lot of receivers that aren't really big named. Like, Tom Brady's had Gronk. He had Randy Moss. Come on. The talent of receivers isn't even close to what Aaron Rodgers has had. So I feel like, that's why Aaron Rodgers is elite. Don't at me. Don't at me about that. Let's go ahead and move on to Case Keenum. I don't think he's starting next year, but we'll go ahead and move on with him. I definitely don't think he is. He's at the Redskins currently, correct? So, Dwayne Haskins, I'm pretty sure, is going to start over him. So I don't know if we rank him or not. I guess we'll just rank him. He's up here. I'm going to put him in below average. He had a good year in Minnesota, I personally believe that was kind of just Minnesota's year. Their defense was coming together. Their receivers had breakout years in Stephon Diggs. You got Kyle Rudolph. You got Adam Thielen. They had Dalvin Cook. He went down with that injury, but yeah, Case Keenum had a good year in Minnesota, then got traded. Didn't really do well in Denver. Then he got traded to the Redskins. I think he's going to be a backup quarterback for Dwayne Haskins. So I think Haskins is going to start, but he's going to be there in that below average category. Case Keenum is. Let's go ahead and move on here with Matt Ryan. Matty Ice, some would call it. But I don't know if you can say that. I just don't personally believe if he doesn't win a Super Bowl, that's going to be over his career his whole life, I would say, because that was his one chance against the Patriots. And you really got to think that when they went to pass it on that play in the Super Bowl, when all they had to do was run the freaking clock out. I know Atlanta fans don't want to hear this, but all they had to do was run the clock out. He gets strip sacked, and, things go bad for him. Let's just say that. Things go bad for him. I don't think he's in that elite category, but I definitely think he's in that above average category. He's definitely put up nice stats in Atlanta his whole career. I mean, you could say he's had Julio Jones, but he's good. He's real good. He's in that above average. A lot of teams would love to have him, and you can see he's in that above average by his contract. He's a good quarterback for sure. I just don't think he's in that elite category with these guys up here, but he's an above average quarterback, I would say. Let's go ahead and move on with Jimmy G here. I'm going to put him in that average category. I wanted to put him in maybe above average, but I don't really know. Because when he's really hasn't had that much time on the field. He's had a couple games in New England. He won those. Then San Francisco, he didn't play a whole lot last year. I'm pretty sure he got injured before the midseason mark. It was against the Chiefs, so I think it was like week 5 or 6. But, I mean, learn from Tom Brady, so you got that going for you. Just got that nasty injuries where he tore his ACL, and was it his MCL as well? But he got injured. I do like his play, though. He has a very fast release. He's not really going to be a mobile quarterback, but he has a real fast release. I would say one of the fastest in the league. They're starting to surround him with some decent talent there in San Fran. They didn't go out and get a big-name receiver, though, so I'm a little worried about that. I do think San Francisco is going to be a contender in that division next year, so I'm going to put him in the average category. Let's go ahead and move on with Carson Wentz, and he's going to go in this above-average category. I would say his MVP season definitely, when he should have won the MVP before he got injured, he was making himself into that elite category, but man, I don't know if he can be there currently. I really don't. I think above average is where he is currently. He's getting better, though, so next year he could definitely move up to elite. Just out of the year he had last year, I'm going to put him in that above average category. He had a decent year. Again, they benched him towards the end of the year for Nick Foles. They said it was for injury, but I personally believe Philadelphia threw him in there because why not? Nick Foles had a Super Bowl MVP the year before, so why not try to throw him in there when he gets real hot there towards the end of the year in the playoffs? So yeah, I'm putting Carson Wentz in the above average. Let's go ahead and move on with Josh Allen. I'm going to put him in the below average category. Definitely didn't have a great year last year. He made some okay plays throughout the year, but he wasn't like a superstar quarterback last year. So I'm putting him in that below average category. But again, he's one of those quarterbacks coming into his second year, so he might have a huge leap like a lot of these quarterbacks in their second year do. So we'll go ahead and see there. But for me, he's in that below average category. We're going to go ahead and go with Marcus Mariota. He's going to go in that below average category. I didn't want to base these off injuries, but you kind of have to for Marcus Mariota because I feel like every year towards the end of the year, the Titans are somehow in the race or like fighting for that 9-7 spot, maybe 10-6. They're fighting for the playoffs, and then Mariota he can't stay healthy. He just can't. I mean, I don't know what's going on there. They brought in Ryan Tannehill for a backup, so that's kind of telling me all I need to know there, that they're not real confident in his health. So I feel like they brought Ryan Tannehill in just in case he does get injured here. So Mariota, I feel like he needs to stay healthy. He's pretty mobile as well. He needs to work on his accuracies a little bit and his pocket presence. But we'll see. Let's stick with the same draft class with Marcus Mariota. Jameis Winston. I'm going to put him in the bad category. He just hasn't proved it. I mean, at least Mariota's made the playoffs, and they actually won a game against the Chiefs, as hard as that was for me to watch. With Alex Smith, he threw a freaking touchdown pass to himself. However you do that. Yeah, Jameis Winston, though, he hasn't made the playoffs, and he really, I mean, he's had flashes in Tampa, but he just hasn't shown that he can be a franchise quarterback. They're using the fifth-year option on him. This is pretty much an all-or-nothing year for him, because if he doesn't do good in Tampa, I mean, maybe a team will pick him up to start, but if he doesn't do good this year, I just don't see a team wanting to start him. I really don't. So let's go ahead and move on to Phillip Rivers. I'm going to put him in that above-average category. Borderline elite. I'm just going to put him in that above-average category because he just hasn't shown it in the playoffs, to be honest. I mean, the one thing you could say is he just hasn't won the big one, the Super Bowl. And it's true. In the playoffs, he puts up okay numbers. They're just not winning. I know you could say it's not on him, but when usually a team doesn't win, you're going to put it on the quarterback. So I feel like he needs to win a Super Bowl. If he wins the Super Bowl, he definitely, I can say, would move to this elite category for me. But until he does, I can't put him there. I can't. I just can't, bruh. Let's move on to Kirk Cousins. I'm going to put him in that below average category. Again, he makes good plays. He makes passes that are good, real good. He had some nasty passes last year. He has one of the better deep balls that I've seen, for sure. It's just, he fumbles too often. It's like if he gets touched, he fumbles. I really feel like Minnesota's season next year is going to be up to him. Whether they make the playoffs or they're just a below average team, I feel like he could jump. I mean, they have so much talent in Minnesota. It's insane how much talent they have, especially at the receivers position. I mean, you're talking about Kyle Rudolph, Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook, hopefully going to come back healthy, starting to build up that offensive line. They got one of the better defensive units. It's strictly up to the quarterback, and it's going to be up to Kirk Cousins. It really is. Oh, went down there. Yeah, it's going to be up to Kirk Cousins. We'll see. I don't know if he's that quarterback for Minnesota, so I'm putting him in that below average category. Let's go ahead and move on with Cam Newton. I'm going to put him in the average category. I wanted to put him in the above average category, but he's a real mobile quarterback. He's one of the nastiest runners at the quarterback position. He's made the Super Bowl, didn't win it there. I think they're probably going to have a bounce back year next year. I feel like Cam Newton just needs to work on his pocket presence. He really does. Short passes are by far his worst trait. I just don't get how he can miss on so many short passes. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't. Like, he's really good passing medium and deep. It's just the short passes, they aren't there for him for whatever reason. They're just not. So he's going to go in that average category. But again, I feel like he could be one season away from being back in that MVP season he had just a couple years ago. So we'll see next year what happens with him. Let's go ahead and move on with Andrew Luck here. I'm going to put him in the above average category. I want to put him in that elite category, but this injury that he had last year, well, he came off of last year, made the playoffs with the Colts, which was impressive. It's just, I'm not too sure. It's still kind of a question mark. Like, how serious was this injury he has? Because there was a while in last year where he couldn't throw the ball deep. I mean, they brought in Jacoby Brissett to throw a Hail Mary because I don't think they thought Andrew Luck could get it there. You could tell a little bit of the year he had a lot of that zip on the ball. So I don't know how serious that injury was. I feel like he's an above average quarterback. I don't think he's in that elite category. I know he did make the playoffs last year. I just feel like the elite category, you gotta be good all the time. You can't have real bad games. So that's why I'm putting just a couple quarterbacks up at elite. Let's move on with Tom Brady. You know he's elite. Everybody does. I mean, Super Bowls are just a thing for him. I mean, it seems like every year they're in the conversation for Super Bowl talks, and as they should. They have Tom Brady. Yeah, they're going to be a contender this year. As long as Tom Brady's playing, I do think they're going to be a contender until Tom Brady starts to regress. But he hasn't. I mean, last year kind of didn't have the numbers he had usually, but he didn't have a whole lot of talent to work with. He had a beat-up Gronk. He had Edelman, who's like 30. Hogan. They don't have a whole lot of receiver talent. They did go after N'Keal Harry in the draft, so I kind of am curious to see how that can work. But yeah, I mean, there's no arguing that. He's an elite quarterback. Let's go ahead and move on with Baker Mayfield. And I'm going to put him in that average quarterback. There's a lot of talks surrounding Cleveland, as there should be, but I think they need to slow down a little bit. We haven't really seen from Baker Mayfield what he can do. I know we've seen him for a year. He had some nice plays. He had a decent season as a rookie, but we need to kind of slow down a little bit, pump the brakes on this hype train for Cleveland. We need to see how Baker Mayfield's going to play with Odell and Jarvis Landry when both of them like catching the ball. They also have David Njoku, Kareem Hunt. They're all going to want to get their snaps, so it's going to be kind of curious to see how he's going to want to spread the ball around. So I'm going to put him in that average category. Currently, let's go ahead and move on with Lamar Jackson. And this is kind of a tough one. I want to put him in the average, but I'm going to have to put him in the below average because of his accuracies. I really think he's the fastest quarterback since Mcveigh, I personally believe. His accuracies are too inaccurate for me. He needs to develop more as a pocket passer. He kind of has the same traits as Cam Newton, I would say, except a little bit less accurate. He's more mobile, I would say, than Cam Newton. And Cam Newton will go over you, but Lamar Jackson, he's more shifty, I should say. He has more speed. But he needs to work on his accuracies all around, I would say. And just his pocket presence, he needs to be more aware in the pocket. So until he can do that, I'm going to put him in the below average. But again, he's one of those quarterbacks entering the second year. So he could just have an insane year and move up to elite. We'll see. Let's go ahead and move on with Drew Brees. He's in that elite category. Has a Super Bowl there with New Orleans. Got a lot of talent in New Orleans, but he shows up. I feel like it's every pass Drew Brees throws, I feel like it's going to be complete. I mean, they've gotten robbed these last 2 years. I kind of feel bad for Drew Brees. The Minneapolis Miracle first, and then last year, the refs just missed a blatant call there, or they gave a call to the team that were playing in the playoffs. So yeah, he kind of got robbed there. For sure, well, not kind of. He got robbed last year. That was just a bad play on their defense the year before, but last year, they for sure got robbed. So I'm hoping this year, I mean, I don't know how long Drew Brees is going to continue playing. It would be a shame if he doesn't make another Super Bowl before he does retire, but the NFC's tough. I really don't know if he will, but he's cemented himself as an elite quarterback, in my opinion. Let's go ahead and move on with Mitch Trubisky here, and I'm going to put him in the below average category. I haven't seen enough. I didn't trust him in the playoffs. He didn't have a great game in the playoffs either. He really didn't. He had an okay year last year. He showed some mobility. I just don't think he has that elite kind of thing where, you know, Mahomes has it, Rodgers has it, Brees has it, Brady has it, where you just have it and the team steps up to your level of play. Mitch Trubisky just doesn't seem like he has that currently. So I'm going to put him in the below average category. For sure, I feel like he can move up there. They got weapons there in Chicago. He also needs to develop a little bit as a passer, get a little bit more accurate with some of his balls, and I feel like he can move up a little bit in these. I just don't know if he's going to hit that elite, but I definitely feel like he can hit above average in his career. Let's go ahead and move on with Matthew Stafford. This is another tough one. I'm going to put him in below average. He just hasn't proved it in Detroit. A lot of people try to say he's never had a running game. Well, he had one for a while last year, and he just hasn't stepped up. They gave him a huge contract there in Detroit. Man, he's got to make the playoffs. He's got to. I mean, Detroit, it seems like they've had this curse since Barry Sanders left, and they can't do much. The only playoff game they made when they played against Seattle, they just kind of got shellacked in that game. Was it like 2 years ago, I believe? Yeah, he's got to step up. I mean, he's got too many games where he'll just go more interceptions than touchdowns. And that's a theme there. It's just he'll make some passes here and there, but he needs to be more better long term with this throughout the season. He can't have games where he's good, games where he's bad. So I'm going to put him in the below average category. Let's go ahead and move on with Jared Goff here. I'm going to put him in the above average category. I feel like the Super Bowl kind of hurt him a little bit because he was almost moving towards that elite. Definitely, I feel like he probably would have been elite if they would have won the Super Bowl. But I'm going to put him in the above average category. When you score 3 points in a Super Bowl, I know they didn't have Todd Gurley, but he didn't play well. Jared Goff didn't. So he definitely had a good season last year. With Sean McVay, he's played well. He definitely has played well with Sean McVay. I just feel like that Super Bowl game really hurt him real bad. So I'm going to keep him in that above average category. Let's go ahead and move on with probably the last elite quarterback here in Russell Wilson. You got to put Russell Wilson up there. You got to. I mean, look what he's been dealing with Seattle. He hasn't really had a big name receiver. Doug Baldwin was his biggest name receiver. And now he's retired. But, I mean, he's been running for his life up there in Seattle for a while. Since Marshawn Lynch left and they traded away their center. For whatever reason, I don't know why they thought that was a good idea to trade away your center, but they did. And he's been running. I mean, all their success, you got to give it to Russell Wilson. You really do, because he makes plays happen all the time that just shouldn't. So he's in that elite category for sure. I feel like they're going to be a contender next year. They got Metcalf. That connection might be nasty. So we'll see what happens there. Moving on with Nick Foles here. Man, I got to put him in the average category. Postseason, he's up here, maybe elite category. Postseason, he steps up in the postseason, but he's got to go in the average category. Regular season, I know he had that insane regular season when he played for Philadelphia, when he only threw like 3 interceptions for the year. But you kind of seen when he started the first couple of games last year, he wasn't playing good. For whatever reason, it's like, I mean, there's a few quarterbacks like that, like Fitzpatrick. I guess you could say Nick Foles. We'll see next year for Nick Foles because he's for Jacksonville now. So now maybe he was going to step up because the team's finally paid for him. They want him to be their franchise quarterback. So we'll see what he can do in Jacksonville. He's going to have a nice run game to work with Leonard Fournette. So we'll see how that can go. Moving on with Deshaun Watson. I'm going to put him in that above average category. He's had some injury concerns for sure, but he's stepped up. I mean, his rookie season, it was looking like it was going to be an all-time great season before he got injured. It looked like he was going to go for like 50 touchdowns, but then he got hurt, came back off his ACL tear last year. Offensive line just let him get the crap beat out of him. Let's be honest. I mean, their offensive line last year for the Texans, he was getting pummeled back there. So I kind of got to give some of that success to them. They made the playoffs. I know they got blown out by the Colts, but they got a lot of talent, so I'm going to put him up in that above average. He's very mobile as well, so I definitely feel like they can have a bounce-back year, and I definitely think he's an above-average quarterback. Let's go ahead and move on with Derek Carr. I'm going to put him in the below-average category. I know he had that MVP season a few years ago, or at least it looked like he was going to get that. He just hasn't been the same. I feel like he just doesn't want to take hits anymore. There's just a point probably for a quarterback when you take so many hits and you just get injured from him. And he's had the injury bug, broke his leg, had some broken bones in his back. He broke his pinky. I mean, he's been hurt. He's got Antonio Brown next year, so we'll see what he can do there. I just feel like he's too scattered in the pocket. Whenever he feels the slightest amount of pressure, even if it's not there, he just thinks it's there, he'll just take off running. I know John Gruden's trying to coach that out of him, but I just don't know if he's going to be the quarterback long-term for the Raiders. So I'm going to put him in that below-average category, and that is going to do it, guys, for my ranking of all the quarterbacks. Let me know if you guys are enjoying this type of series. We could do a lot more of these, like defensive ends, safeties. We can go wide receivers next, running backs. Just let me know if you guys want to see more of this, and let me know if you did agree with my picks here. And if you didn't, let me know what your picks are, if you think any of mine are wrong. And yeah, I just wanted to say thank you guys again for 70,000 views. That really does mean a lot. Starting out, I definitely didn't think this could be a long-term option on YouTube, but I definitely do now. I definitely can see all the support you guys are showing me. Over 400 subscribers. I really do appreciate all the support, guys. And yeah, let me know if you guys do want to see more of this. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.